G'day, everybody. This is Dejan Sneed here with Subsume, and welcome to another fun panel here with the Subsume Summit, where we've had the pleasure of gathering for Black comic book store owners. And we, as an indie community, want to know how can we be in your store? How can we support you? And what's going on with the Black comic book experience in our local spaces here in 2020? So, with that, we've got an all-star cast of retailers here to actually get a new side, and I think one that frankly we don't get enough to hear from, especially in this type of format. So really, this is more to open up the floor to learn and engage and experience with these our fantastic four of indie bookstore owners. And so we'll start with Ariel. Am I saying that right? I always want to make sure.
Yeah, that's correct. Ariel.
Okay, thank you. So we have Ariel Johnson, and we also have LaShawn Colvin. We also have Tony Cade and Terry. I'm going to blank on your last name, so we'll start with you.
No R.
Exactly. So with that, we'll start with you, Terry, to let you please tell us about yourself and your store, and then we'll go forward from there.
All right. Well, I'm Terry Gant. I own Third Coast Comics in Chicago. I've been open now for 12 years as a brick and mortar. We started 2 years earlier than that. So we started in like 2005 as just an online graphic novel seller out of my house. And I did that while going to school and working a full-time job. And after a couple of years, I just needed to see what could happen with a brick and mortar. So we just gave it a shot, right? So right now, I am on Loyola University's campus in Chicago on like our north side. And my unique challenge is my primary audience are college kids and then the families who live in the neighborhood, right? I don't have a lot of like, say, gamers and so like hardcore nerds looking for like, say, like graded comics and that kind of thing. We don't do back issues. So my operation is very like kind of very niche in terms of what we do. Like we're very good with supporting local artists. The way that we tend to have to do it though is we didn't have to meet them, right? Like I need to know when I'm looking at your work that it could appeal to a college crowd, a diverse college crowd at that. 50% of our customers are women, 40% of our customers identify as LGBT. So like if you're bringing us something indie, I might want to support it, but it's a little harder to do if what you're basically bringing me is the indie version of the Avengers, right? That has a little less traction here than something that might be a little more like, I don't know, slice of life or just something that most folks don't necessarily get already from the biggest 4 or 5 comic book publishers, right? So we make room for it. We're pretty much known for it and respected for it, but it's kind of the way I have to look at almost everything that comes in the door is, would somebody in our community be already looking for it? Would they be excited about it? Like, I want you, the independent comic book creator, to be able to get in front of more people, right? So the first thing is, the way we did it pre-COVID was there were lots of events that brought artists here. Usually when things like Free Comic Book Day come around, you know, what most shops do is you find a major artist and get them to do a signing. My store is small, but I'm connected to like a 2,000 or 3,000 square foot like event space. And with that space, our Free Comic Book Day events and other events are like ones where I can bring like 10 or 12 artists in, and indie artists at that who don't like have a large following, to put them in front of more people in our community. And that way helps them kind of like build their audience a little bit, right? It's better. It might be a little easier for you to meet 600 people, 800 people in one day to show your work to than you go around trying to find 800 people to buy your work, right? And that's usually like the first way we do it. And then we do like various drinking draws, and we were doing comic book meetups, and all of this is like pre-COVID. So there are lots of ways in which we got independent artists in the room to just like chop it up with fans and prospective customers and all that kind of stuff. During COVID, it's a little different because now what I kind of like would like to do or do a little more of is I'd rather see PDFs of work so that I'm not having people come to my small space, right, where I got to be concerned about safety and all that. You shoot out PDFs of your work to people, and then you get actual feedback, right? And that way we can at least know where you're at in terms of like what our market is and who you're likely to encounter if you're like, you know, putting your work out there. Why you can't do all the legwork now, so sending out samples of your work is actually not the worst idea in the world, you know? That's largely like kind of what it's got to be like at this point, right? Like, I want to say that artists and creators have all the time in the world almost to like try to market your stuff, but you really don't. I've discovered with COVID that I don't have any extra time that I didn't have before, right? Like I don't have all the free time I thought I'd be getting with not going all these places I can't go. I'm just as busy, if not busier. And I think that for artists, it's about the same. So the one thing I would say is now do those co-contacts with shops, with retailers, if you want to get in their stores, and send samples before you just up and show up. And don't put all your eggs in one basket. And I think that that's the Chicago thing is, in this town, we've got a lot of independent comic creators who find a couple shops that they have a good rapport with. And it's kind of like, I think they get a little bit complacent. And they don't, it's scary to do these cold calls, right? So like, you've got to get out there and push yourself, right? You've got to get out a wider net than 1 or 2 neighborhoods near your house. You've got to move out there and like really put your work out there. So like I would say that now, since you can't really visit all these places, shooting out these PDFs and samples is like the right thing to do.
Got you. Now I can tell you obviously fired up by that thing because that was the introduction of the story. So y'all really about to get all the good information. But that was so good I didn't want to stop you. I was like, this brother got something to say, so I was like, let's hear him out. So to that's Terry Grant. So I'm gonna take one step back and I'm gonna start. I'm gonna give Ariel just one moment to give a quick blurb on her store. Then we'll go to LaShawn and then to Tony. And then we would definitely want to go back to keep that same energy, that same conversation going.
Come back to me like a half hour.
All right, so good. I'm sorry, Ariel, so we'll turn it to you. If you'll please tell us about yourself and your store and your story.
Oh, sure. So my name is Ariel Johnson. I'm the owner, operator, and head nerd in charge of Amalgam Comics and Coffee House located in Philadelphia. We've been serving Philadelphia since 2015, which is when we opened our doors. So we're actually coming up on our 5-year anniversary in December. So that is exciting. So we are a comic book store, coffee shop / event space. I actually like to call us a community geek space because the whole, for me, because just the book market in general, just like physical books, that's been an industry that's struggled, with the, a presence of Amazon and, digital this, digital that. And I do find it like really interesting that for comics, they have kind of been able to survive that in a different way than just traditional novels and books and things have. I do think there's something like magical about holding like the physical comic, but even within that, I recognize that we needed to have like a specific focus, like what is the goal of the space, and I felt like it needed to be more than just sell books. And so for me, I thought building community is an important piece of keeping people as return customers. For me, the reason that I wanted to pair the shop with a coffee shop is because I had my own personal routine when I was still in school of going to just my local comic book shop, and then I had a local coffee shop that I liked, and so I would go get my comic books and then immediately go and hang out at my coffee shop for hours and just read. And it was something about being in a communal space, even though I very rarely even interacted with the other patrons at the coffee shop, just kind of being in a public space, being able to kind of just like read, comics and the things I enjoy out in public and have it be an experience. That's what I wanted to create with Amalgam. Like, it's an experience. You come, you might get into a conversation with the person next to you because, you bought a similar book or something like that. So everything was really about building community, and community being the core. And then it's just community around comics, games, D&D, whatever your thing is, whatever you're using Amalgam for, or however you're expressing yourself at Amalgam, but community is the center of it. So that has been, our business model, which is, so COVID has been especially tough for us because we can't do the community piece in the same way. And so now just still trying to kind of figure out what it looks like, in this new world, and just trying to survive this new world, both personally, professionally, mentally, because it is a trying time just all around. But, you know, even in the course of navigating those things, trying to figure out what the pivot is to keep the shop afloat, you know, through this difficult time.
Absolutely, no, and a great story. So, you know, to that, and looking and talking about, you know, the times that we actually have a brand new to still yet to be opened store here with LaShawn. LaShawn, can you tell us about yourself and your store and your story?
Yeah, so basically my name is LaShawn Coven. I'm an artist. I draw. I'm a comic book artist and writer. I started in the comic book industry in 2013 as a artist. I have a book that's coming out. I've been working on for 8 years called Beautiful Soldiers, and it drops around my birthday in January. I lost my mom this year in April in a house fire. And after she passed, I always wanted to do a store, especially when I saw Ariel's store and I saw her come up in 2015 and what she was doing. It was very inspirational from a woman's point of view. A lot of people that know me know I'm a feminist. I'm true girl power. And when my mom passed, you know how we get into that mode of saying, I'll take that trip next year, or I'll go on that vacation or that cruise next month, or some shit like that. And it got to, I'm sorry, excuse me. And it got to the point where I said, I might not be here tomorrow. So, because my aunt and my family were like, oh, the corona, oh, you gotta, this and that, but I'm gonna live my life and I'm not gonna let this stop me from doing my dreams. So that's where the store came up. And the name of my store is Comics and Geeks, a beverage lounge. And basically it's the heart of the store is community, like what Ariel was saying. Because if you have your community behind you and a true community that loves to come into an environment that is them, comics and games and all of that, then you don't have to worry about anything really. Because I know I'm a hardcore comic book lover and I go to the shops faithfully before I have my own shop. And my store really deals a lot with everything, comics, gaming, beverages, all of that. Eventually, I want to get to the point where I build a smoothie area in the back of the store. I have a beverage area now, but I'm sure some of you guys know the health department will give you hell. And originally, when I was doing the store, the smoothie counter, everything was going to be set up when I got ready to open. Child, they gave me a whole story, a whole book. And I said, I got to come up with something else. So I kind of got my beverage area set up to where, I can kind of open now and build the smoothie area over time so it don't hold me from opening. I'm also a gamer. I'm a hardcore gamer. So that was very important to have a gaming area in the back of the store. When I open, we're going to have registrations for our gaming tournaments. The first game we're going to do is Mortal Kombat because that's one of my favorite games. And so, my store is just, I'm the newbie. So seeing you guys and hearing you talk about your stores and what you guys are going through, this is it's very emotional for me, because I am new. And when I was in the beginning stages of getting the store done and getting it ready, I was trying so hard to find another Black woman that has a store and that could give me some type of advice, some type of tips, some type of, like a mentorship to kind of just, which I got that from the guys too. Don't get me wrong. A lot of men were very supportive, but it just the same. It was just having that camaraderie, that female camaraderie, and there was not none. There was here in the South. around the area for me to reach out to. And when I did, and I know Ariel had her store, I did a lot of research on what she did. I watched a lot of videos and read a lot of articles on that, and that helped me. But, I think having more women as comic book shop owners, Black women, is so important to show that we are here and we are just into it, if not more than the men.
You're here. No, absolutely. And welcome. And again, obviously, we thank and embrace you for that part of the journey and all the good things to come. And with that, we kind of rounding out our Fantastic Four here today is Tony Cade. So Tony, tell us about you and your store and your journey.
Okay. Well, at this point, I really feel like the old man in the room. I've actually been doing this since 1994.
Oh, wow.
All right. And I really got into the whole fandom thing by attending, my first convention, back in the mid 80s. I remember going to stuff like, Dragon Con, the Atlanta Fantasy Fair. And basically I can, count the number of Black people attending on like one hand. So it's like now when I go to these conventions and there's literally like thousands of us, at conventions, just like, yeah, I remember back in the day, where were y'all back then? But it's like, it gives me pride, to see all the people and stuff involved in the community and openly involved, in the sci-fi and fantasy community. But like I said, I'm the owner of Challenges Games and Comics. Like I said, I've been doing this whole comic book thing since like 94. Started off primarily as a comic book shop. And then over the years have evolved to getting really into like board gaming, tabletop gaming, miniature gaming. The store is like 3,500 square feet. And I would say probably about almost half of it is dedicated just to table space for people to play. Both the board games and the miniature games and the collectible card games. Then of course, COVID happened. And now with social distancing, we had to like shut down for about 2 weeks. And so during that 2-week time period, my staff and I actually took the time to actually catalog everything in the store and make sure that it was all updated in our POS system. And we created a brand new website that has all the games, all the miniatures and everything, all there on the website for people to order. So during COVID, we started off and we just started doing curbside service. We started doing local deliveries and we started mailing stuff off. So now and stuff is like, during the week, the gaming area looks more like a warehouse than it does, gaming space. But then, like I said, we still like have some groups that come in like on Saturdays. So we clean everything all up, so people can come in and space out and still be able to play their miniature games and card games.
To that, again, thank you, Tony. Now to that, talking about inventory, and again, Terry definitely gave us a great dissertation, and I'm also give you a chance to follow up, but the idea of getting on the shelf, in a Black comic book store as an independent. Let's, if we may, Tony, if you want to answer, and we'll kind of work backwards, to that. I know personally, some experience of being to your store, but let me ask, for you as a store owner, what are you looking for, and how can we as independents make sure that, what's our best route to your shelves?
Well, when someone usually approaches me about carrying their book, I usually, like I said, people usually ask people to send me PDFs if they contact me over the phone, or if they come into the store, I'll take a look at what they have. The main thing and stuff that, we're a family store. So, I always want to make sure that, whatever, they're bringing in is family friendly. I, definitely, don't want to get a bad rep out there and stuff, for not, having a family friendly store. And then what I usually do at that point is I look at the quality of what they're producing. And then all of a sudden, all those years of being like editor-in-chief of Terminus Media kicks in. And I find myself actually, giving people advice on how to, improve their products and everything, because I can basically tell them, it's like, look, I know what people want because I listen to what my customers say they like when they come in and purchase comics. And so, even if you have like, good artwork and good story, don't skimp on the lettering. Make sure that lettering is of, of good quality. This is the program you need to use. You need to be using Illustrator. Photoshop's not going to make it for this. This is how you can, improve your work. And then I basically offered to them to come in and do a free signing in the store. I'm like, look, you set up, you schedule, when you want to do it. We'll set you up with a table and everything, and you can come in, and I don't want any of the money from anything you sell. Let's see how good a turnout you get. It's like, send me your social media post about it, and I'll take them and I'll post them out, on our, Twitter and Instagram and our Facebook. And let's see who all shows up, to do the signing. And then what I usually do at that point is look at who shows up, and how well they did on social media. Because my thing is like, there's shelf space. All right, there's a limited amount of shelf space. So if I'm gonna have your book on the shelf, I gotta have a book that I know that you're out there pushing, that you believe in. I need to listen to your sales pitch for it, help you critique your sales pitch so that I can use it as my sales pitch, for your book. And that's usually how I do it and stuff. I basically, it's like, okay, here, show me what you got, show me how you're gonna market it. And then if you do a good job on those two things, I'm straight up just gonna buy, the issues from you. It's like one of the books I like to point out is like, Tuskegee Heirs. All right, the guys who do that do a great job of marketing, and the quality of their book is like really good. I think both me and RL, have both sold like many hundreds of copies of their books with like no problem, because they put the word out about their book, and it's good quality, and it's a subject matter that grabs people's attention. So it makes my job easier, to carry their books. When they say, hey, this book's gonna be out, I'm like, okay, when do I get my copies? So the same time that they're selling the books online, I've already got copies here in my store, and people are coming from all over to get copies of the book. And so that's basically how I do, with the creators. And then, as an extension of that, I actually started the Atlanta Sci-Fi and Fantasy Expo, where I would invite different independent creators to come out and set up tables at the convention. And we'd also at the convention have a bunch of how-do panels. Like the show that we were supposed to do this year, we had like over 50 vendors, scheduled, and we had like 60 hours worth of programming for people to learn how to do animation, illustration, how to produce the comic book, how to do the Kickstarters, So I've always been like really heavy into like helping people learn how to get into the community and bringing people together so they can teach each other.
Excellent. And definitely want to parlay again your experience to LaShawn, who again coming into basically building a brand new space. Now for someone that's looking to get on your shelf, again, what's your purview? What's your point on this as far as someone coming up to you saying, hey, I heard you're opening up a store. Would you take a look at this? What's been your process and experience so far?
Well, the funny part about that is, even Deidre, we've been following each other for a while. So, I've been pushing Beautiful Soldiers for years. I'm an indie creator myself, and I have a pretty, hey, leave that alone. I have a pretty, a big following already before I got the store that was waiting on Beautiful Soldiers, and that followed me in my journey in comics over the years. So when I announced the store, it kind of just like amped me up even more. And one of the biggest reasons I got the store also was because I'm an indie creator, and I wanted to highlight indie titles and indie books. I'm an editor with Short Fuse Media, so I've edited so many creators' books. I'm editor on a lot of titles now, and I have in my store, I have a whole wall that's dedicated to indie creators. And I post and I promote it to all the indie people that follow me. I have so many people who are sending me their books to put in the store. On my website, I have a whole indie page that goes into what I'm looking for, what are the criteria, what you need to send me, what you need to do. And they just been coming like clockwork. Now, I will say, if people who know me and know me from my Beautiful Soldiers book know that I work with a lot of mainstream artists. A lot of mainstream publishers have reached out to me about Beautiful Soldiers and getting it published with their book, with their companies. So quality is very, very important. I know everybody can afford to pay $100 or $125 per page to get their book done. I understand that. So if you're going to go the cheaper route, you need to make sure that you still uphold that quality, that if your book is on the shelf, it can stand toe to toe with any DC, Marvel, or Image book on the shelf as well. And I'm very important about quality. A lot of my writers and stuff that I'm editor for, if they come to me, want me to be their editor, and you got something that looked like my 10-year-old nephew drew it, then I'm sorry, we're going to have some problems. So, I'm very big on that. And, but I'm also so wanting so many creators to reach out to me. A lot of my local artists and stuff in my city, I'll let them know if you want to come and display your art, if you want to come and display anything in the store. I'm open to that. I encourage it because I was an indie creator myself. And one thing about indie creators is that we love comic shops to take a chance on us. And I remember back when I was promoting Beautiful Soldiers at some of the local stores here in my city and in the surrounding areas, I was always so nervous if they would take a chance on me, if they would make me feel welcome. And some of them did. And some of them was like, oh, well, it just depends. They have that little snobbish ass attitude. So it was very important for me to make sure that they know, like, look, I get it. I'm an indie creator myself. And I am here. Come and bring your stuff to this store. I don't say no to nobody unless you come in with some hot mess. Then, you're going to have to kind of come up with something else. But yeah, so that's kind of like my take on it. I'm very, very big on supporting indie creators and making sure that they know that they have options about getting their books in stores. And the good thing about me being an indie creator and being so pro indie is that I can maneuver my customers to go and check out the indie wall. Yes, I have all of the good stuff from DC, all the good stuff from Marvel, and all the mainstream publishers. But come over this way and check out this book right here. I promise you, you're going to love it. I'm a good saleswoman, and I can sell the drawers off a mannequin.
I'm sure. And to that, I'm sure that will serve you well in your opening.
Huh?
Now, in my store, I literally have sold the drawers off a mannequin.
Let's see, now y'all got those extra level sales skills, which again I'm sure are needed. So to that RL, it kind of closed that point with you. Again, I know just personally I've seen your endeavors to support indie comics, but what's been your experience as far as getting independent comics promoted and on the shelves there with Amalgam?
Well, that's our process, I guess, has started to evolve as I have someone to kind of help me manage it. As I'm sure, all the shop owners can probably attest to, you get a lot of submissions. Folks like, oh, my book, my this, and sometimes it can be overwhelming to just kind of wade through all of that. Again, especially because for us, we do like so many different things. So the coffee shop and the bakery is a whole thing. The comic books is a whole thing. Trying to host events and do things like that is a whole thing. So I don't always have all the time I would like to just sit and go through submissions. So you really are looking for the things that pop out. And like for me, I feel like cover art is key, because I feel like you can have the best story in the world, but if the art isn't solid, if the cover isn't solid, the thing that's going to draw the person to even pick up the book, it's a harder sell. I can attest to having some books that are solid books, but they don't pop on the shelf next to everything else, right? So it's harder to, even when you're like, oh, I'm suggesting it, people are like, but I like this one, right? So sometimes it's, it's, I think creators, especially if art is not their focus, like if they're more of a writer and then they, got some art together for their book, don't realize how important the art is, especially in comic books. It's equally words and images. It's not like a book with pictures. It's like, no, the art is actually telling a story. Like some of my favorite panels and things in comics are the ones where you didn't even need the words, because the art is just so like visceral or emotive, like it's really getting across what the story is about. And so I think that's always something that I try to like let folks know. It's like, your art really needs to be solid. And then for our store, it's like we have a very unique blend of customers. We are in a North Philly neighborhood that is seeing tons of gentrification. These past, I don't know, probably 6 or so years, the neighborhood really changed a lot, but we still have this mix of old folks in the neighborhood, new folks in the neighborhood, families, single folks, LGBTQ queer folks, families, quirky artists. Like it's all these different people. So I feel like sometimes the challenge is also trying to meet the needs of all these people. We have like those traditional folks that only read Marvel and DC, and then we have those folks that are like, image only, and then you have those folks that are like, I like, indie zines. Like, where's your local stuff? So trying to have that blend for all those folks can be a just challenge overall, just kind of maintaining that. I think, all comic book shop art owners know, like, inventory is just insane. It's so much stuff all the time, right? So when you're trying to figure out like, okay, what can I invest in that I know will move and won't just get lost, on my shelf? We try to, our process, so, as I said, the processes look different over the years, because we are still a fairly new store and things are still evolving and changing, and I'm very much adapting. And of course we're all adapting now because we're just in new territory that I don't think any of us could have even imagined this. But so pre-COVID, the process was the fast track to have your book on the shelf is to actually just do an event. So you come in, we promote, and, you get the benefit of like our platform and encouraging folks to come in, usually not even just for just a signing, but like a talk. We would have like mics and speakers set up and chairs so folks could come, actually converse with the creator, buy the books, get things signed. And then following the signing, what we would do is agree to buy, a certain number of books, anything from, like, again, if it's a book that I look at and I know this is going to fly off the shelves, I might, or buy heavier. If it's something that it's just like, I'm not sure how well this will do, but we'll try you out. So I'll buy 3 or 5 copies and we'll see what happens. But just kind of letting or promoting the work, piggybacking the signing. So it's like, we have the signing, we promote that, we have these books after the event. And so then we can say to folks, hey, did you miss the signing? No worries, we still have copies, please come check it out. And just trying to kind of drum up that attention and support. And then, again, go from there, because we have books like, I think Tony was mentioned, Tuskegee Airs, so we host Marcus and Greg anytime they're in town, and it's like, sure, because their book does so well, especially because we do have a lot of young readers. and again, families, and they're looking for something that is safe for all ages. Recently, David's Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer has been like a number one seller, throughout the quarantine, like to the point where we're having, just trouble keeping it in stock. And again, he's done events at the shop, and just from that and promotion and his own promotion, because he really works to get his work out there. Folks are coming to us like looking for it. So it's just interesting. So you see, like, you can be an indie book and have this major pull, but again, like, you have to be able to stand, again, toe to toe with those bigger names. So, you really want to like refine your work and tune it up. I have met folks who are like, very confident and super cocky in their work, but from somebody who sees a lot of work, it's like, it's not that great. And I know you think it's great, but I know that it's going to get lost, and just, so I think, as a creator who really wants to be on the shelves in these shops, again, space is valuable, right? So you have to make it worth the shop owners worthwhile too, to have you taking up space on their shelf. This is a business, we're all trying to generate revenue so that we can keep our doors open. So you have to be willing to do that work and say, okay, wait, how can I, refine this? How can I make this better? Always, open and willing to improve so that you can be considered. It's not just, this is your first draft and it's ready to go. It's like, no, you got to be able to stand toe to toe again with these books that are indie, but folks are calling me for, and also of course, just the mainstream stuff that's always going to be, in play and kind of taking up people's wavelengths. Like, you really have to come ready to stand toe to toe with those titles.
That's fantastic. And Terry, I just want to give you a chance in some to kind of just to have any response. I know, again, you gave us a brilliant and passionate open to the show. Is there anything else to add in?
I think that a lot of times when I'm encountering like indie artists, the one other bit of advice that I give them is we all get like I didn't set out to become a comics retailer, right? I didn't think I was going to open a store. I thought I was going to be a comics illustrator. I thought I was going to be like the next John Byrne or George Perez or something, right? That was my goal, right? Was to be like Steve Rude, right? I didn't think retail was where I was going to end up. But once I got into retail and sort of the market sort of changed, I noticed that a lot of people get in what they're really focused on is they want to drop issues with number ones and all this kind of thing because they grew up with that. Because I grew up with that, right? But now what I've noticed that works is, I have to tell a lot of artists and creators is, stop thinking of the day you release your number one, right? Because when people who are looking for independent work find it, they want to have a whole story, or they want to know when they can get more of it. And what I'm having to explain to people a lot of times is the budget for you to be able to pull off whatever you did to get that first issue done, right? All the money you make from that has to go back into your second issue. And the difference between your first and second issue is you had all the time in the world to get your first issue done. You don't have all the time in the world to get your second, third, and fourth issues done, right? Because more than likely, you still gotta, you gotta do your day job. You might have kids. Who knows what it is, right? So I tell people, drop the whole first issue thing. Don't even sweat that. It's not about coming out of the gates hot with a first issue if you can't follow it up every 60 days with another book, because the customers' budgets don't really change, right? They come into the shop with like 20, 30 bucks to spend. They're going to spend that 20, 30 bucks on whatever's physically there. If your next issue isn't there in a timely manner, they've forgotten about you, right? And me telling them, oh, hold on, I know my man's still working on it, right? That won't work. They'll just buy something else that is there. That money's spent. So don't worry about your first issue. Get your 48-page graphic novel, get your 68-page graphic novel, get your 128-page graphic novel. Keep doing that, because it's like the other store owners here said, your work, not only does it have to stand up against whatever else might also be on our shelves, but the floppy comic book monthly market is different than the graphic novel market, right? There's like a timer on every floppy book with a staple in it on our shelves, where it's gonna have to come off the shelf at some point. But in the graphic novel market, that's a little different, right? Some books are just evergreen. They don't have to go anywhere, right? I can move it around the store 4 or 5 times and find a new audience for it. But if it's gonna be a first issue and it takes you 6 months to get me another issue, you're not building an audience. All you did was make money on one issue. But if you want to build an audience, you're trying to build a library for people. So don't worry about issue 1. Drop a graphic novel. That will sit next to whatever else is on the shelf if it's high quality, right? And that's always going to be there. And you're going to build long-term fans because, unfortunately, in the comic book industry, we have trained people out of delayed gratification, right? We've trained them to not be able to read books month to month, right? They don't think they have the patience to wait 30 days for the next part of a story. How the hell are they going to wait 90 days for you to get whatever the hell it is you're trying to do next out, right? They can't. So you drop a whole graphic novel on them, they'll be more than happy to wait until you give them the next one, because as soon as they see the next one, they're not thinking about how much time it took between the two. They're thinking, I have another one now, right? So that's one big thing I always tell everybody is you just have to change your mindset, right? Because when you're doing a signing for the open for whatever your graphic novel is, it's the same response as when you do your first issue. But you can't do a signing with excitement for your 4th issue, right? Nobody's really waiting around for that, right? It's not quite the same thing. Now you're just in the middle of your story. So get your whole thing done, right? Make sure it's high quality. Make sure it's the kind of thing that will, if sitting next to an image or a boom book, make sure that it works for whatever you're trying to get across, right? Do it at the highest level you can, and take the criticism that maybe you're not where you thought you were going to be, but you'll get there, right? You will get there, but don't sweat so much that first issue, crap. That's a trap, right? We were all raised that way. Don't do it. Go graphic novel, get it done, let the customer get the entire thing in their face. That's what they want, right? And then give it to them again.
Great. Now this is turning into a masterclass of all this good stuff. I just want to go around with just a quick sub thing, because I feel like most of our audience is going to understand. But when we talk about floppy and graphic novel, because again, that count and that the way that many books and zines and things have changed, I just want to get your guys' interpretation of what right now represents a graphic novel on your shelf from an independent standpoint. Is there a minimum count? Is there any sequence or anything like that you guys look for when looking at a graphic novel series from an independent creator?
Nobody wants to jump first? Okay, I guess for me, consider it a graphic novel. It's got to have a little bit of thickness to it. And it at least needs to be the completion of a full story. All right, so for me, the completion of a full story and at least 60-some pages will count as a graphic novel for me. A regular book should be like 22 pages. So you at least need to have in the stuff where, your complete graphic novel is at least like a combination of probably like at least 3 to 4 issues. A miniseries is generally 3 to 4 issues released from Marvel, DC, or, Image. So, if you're going to give me a graphic novel, it needs to be a complete story and at least, I say 66-some pages, at least 3 issues.
So any other feedback on that? We get very, very, again, I just want to make sure, again, because we got such great information on that. And again, that can stand by itself, I'm sure, of what we need to set. I'm sorry, go ahead, LaShawn, excuse me.
Oh, I was just going to say, a couple of the graphic novels that I have on my wall, like what he was saying, range anywhere between 60 to 70 pages, 60 to pages or more. I was editor on a graphic novel with a creator who actually he created his graphic novel in a very unique way, because when you look at it financially, if you financing your own project yourself, a comic to indie creators is easy, okay, because it's going to be cheaper, of course. I remember when I first started with Beautiful Soldiers, it was a comic book. But my close friend, Sean Mack, he called me one day and he was like, well, because I was just about done. I was already at the tip of my budget, like way over my budget when it was a comic book. And Sean called me and he was like, well, you didn't hype it up and you didn't build up all of this. People are waiting on Beautiful Soldiers, but you just coming out with a little floppy book. So I think you should do a graphic novel. And once I had kind of took in what he said, it kind of was some of the best advice he could have gave me. Because with the graphic novel, I was able to put in more story, more character development, all of that. So going back to my writer, he ended up taking 10-page shorts, and he created his graphic novel in 10-page chapters, basically. And I think he got like 7 or 8 chapters, totaling up to almost maybe about 80, 90 pages. And because the chapters range from 10 to maybe 15 pages or whatever. And he didn't want to think of it as a whole book because it was so overwhelming when you're paying for that by yourself. So he just tackled them in little smaller chapters, which was pretty, unique in my opinion. And once he finished his graphic novel, it was beautiful, beautiful cover. And he did his Kickstarter, as most indie creators do after they finish a book. They'll do a Kickstarter to try to recuperate some of the money that they got, and then also hoping to make more than their goal to fund their second book as well. That's another thing that's becoming really popular with indie creators with doing their books, is that they're doing Kickstarters to recuperate their money. And he did his Kickstarter, got his money back like that, and now he's already working on, did I lose you? Oh.
You good?
Did my phone cut off?
No,
Oh,
we're still here.
you're fine. Jeff Brizzy, you're here. We got you.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. But to wrap it up, he did a Kickstarter, got his money back, and now he's doing his second graphic novel. And that's another thing that indie creators need to look at, is Kickstarters and crowdfunding. But you can't do a Kickstarter if you ain't got no following. So that's something else. That's a whole nother meat and potatoes right there that we got to go through, is getting folks to care.
That's true. No, that's well said. Ariel, did you have
Just
anything?
because you have 500 Facebook friends don't mean you got 500 people that gonna support your book.
Say that again.
And I said, just because you have like 500 Facebook friends don't mean those 500 Facebook friends are gonna support your Kickstarter.
Exactly, that's true. And also, a lot of people think that, just because they come up with a Kickstarter and they launch it on Kickstarter, that all the people who are Kickstarter's followers are going to be buying their book. No, that ain't the case either.
Absolutely. Just say any other points on that before we move on to our next little point of the day.
I was just going to say,
slightly off subject.
I'm sorry, Tony. I'm sorry, Ariel. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, just speaking to the graphic novel thing, I think, again, that single issue, first issue, second issue, there is a natural tapering that happens in floppies where, you might sell 100 number ones and then you get to number 2 and you only sold 50. And that's something, store owners are always trying to navigate, because if you kind of miscalculate that tapering, that can really mess you up as a retailer. But so what I was going to say is, like, as Terry was making the point, if you want to do that floppy route where you're coming out with number 1, you really do have to have a plan in place that you are releasing books at regular intervals that people can anticipate. So they know, like, oh yes, this book comes out every ... And folks understand that, like, with indie books, it's not like Marvel or DC where, twice a month or once monthly. They understand, like, oh, it might be 3 months before I see the next book, but in 3 months, they're wondering where the next book is. So I think, that, again, if you're going to do the floppy route, really do have a plan for like what your releases are. But if you feel like that's not something you can really navigate well or control, or whatever the factors that make you feel like, oh, I can't get it out at regular intervals, I think a graphic novel where it is 3 or 4 issues, bound, it is a complete story, is a much easier sell. It's like, we're definitely instant gratification generation. Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime have made it that we want to consume media at our own pace and sometimes all at once. Like we've all had those like, oh, I really just watch TV all day, but I finished that story and I feel like I did something. So people want to be able to get it, and what they're holding is the story. I don't have to search and keep up. I don't have to check in, when's this coming out? So I feel like, again, for indie folks, that is, I think, a good method to maybe have a more successful project, that you are giving it to people all at once. So that when people think about you, they're like, oh, that last story that came out, I loved it. Yeah, I want to check out this new project. Not, oh yeah, I think I read the first issue, but then I never went back to it. And you know, and again, some of that is just, again, natural taper people. There's so much coming at us from all angles, whether it's, you know, social media, it's the books we're reading, it's the movies we're watching, it's the this and that we're streaming. There's always so much coming at us. It's easy to forget that you were reading something. You know, how many times have you gone back and like, oh, right, I forgot I even started this. Now I got to start from the beginning because it's been that long, right? So you want to kind of get in and get into people's memories up front. So again, if you're really trying to establish yourself, I think graphic novels make more sense. And for retailers, it's an easier sell. It's an easier sell than saying, well, I have one and I have three. I think they stopped printing too, you know what I mean? So then people have these mixed match stories, and it's like, oh, well, if I can't read the whole thing, then I'll just pick something else, right? But if your book contains it all, that's an easy sell. Oh yeah, I'll check it out. Oh yeah, I'll check it out. And that's something I've really noticed. So I think the graphic novel model really works well, especially if you are building your audience, because you're kind of giving everybody what they want up front, and kind of embedding yourself in their memory in a different way than if you just kind of, oh, you know, here's this 22 issue single that, you know, in the long run gets, you know, moved to the back of their memory, you know, as they're bombarded with other media.
No, those are all great points, and yeah, I think you're right on cue with that. Now, I want to take some of the rest of our time, and again, thank you all so very much. All this has been just simply invaluable. But what I'm really thankful for, one, is again that, you know, I'm able to, you know, to reach out and connect with 4 Black comic book stores. Now, the idea of like the Black creative space and what we're dealing with in 2020, obviously that's important. But it's important in 2020 or any other point notwithstanding. But what I wanted to ask, as I feel like all of you have some point of intersection in creativity, where we're, you know, what we're dealing with as a Black community, and what we're dealing with is trying to get art in our words, and in a real sense, you know, what our future holds here in this country. You know, what parts do you see your store or your experience as a store owner kind of intersecting with that?
I'll go first. So for me, I think that the part of the challenge is, first we have to get through kind of what we're going through, right? Like, since in my community, I've got people absolutely looking to me to like still be like, I'm the outlet in a way, like for what everybody else is going through. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm the one that they're looking at is like, as long as that store is there, we're all good, right? So what I kind of need is for us to be able to like first get through it, right? Survive the thing, right? Survive not just like COVID itself, but like all the sort of economic challenges that COVID presented us, right? Like Ariel's running like a business on multiple fronts with a major event space, and it kind of the business model requires people to be able to walk through the door, right? I have a large customer base, like my store is in a dorm, right? And there are no students on campus, you know what I mean? Like to do whatever that kind of community-based kind of retail and building that we do, we have to first survive the whole situation. And it's like when you're on a plane, they say if we have a problem, you got to put your mask on first before you put everybody else's on. You know what I mean? We kind of have to do that. We got to we have to be in a position where we're still here, right? So in order to even be able to do any of the community building and any of that work as Black nerds, as Black retailers for our community that we kind of set out to do, or we even found ourselves doing, you know? So step one is survive this economic situation we have going on, right? And then step two is, now that once we've survived it, we can get back to the business of like how we build and how we kind of go forward when everything's gonna look a lot different.
It's one of
Absolutely.
the things that I want to bring
Go
up
ahead,
again about the whole survival thing is I'm in a mall, and I'm in a mall with a movie theater. All right, the movie theater basically has been shut down, and since they're not releasing any movies, no one's coming through for movies. It got so bad that a lot of business and stuff in the mall and stuff had to shut down. And the mall went so far as to basically say, okay, if you don't have an outside door, we're going to ask you to leave so that we can save money on utilities, security, and maintenance. All right, so I've gone from a situation and stuff where I was in like a mall with regular, people coming through and everything, and I could sell a lot of apparel and a lot of stuff that a lot of other shops couldn't sell because I was in a mall location. Now it's gotten to the point that this mall basically has like less than 10 vendors in it. And the only reason that they're still there is that they have like outside doors, but the entire inside of the mall is completely closed down. So, trying to maneuver the change in business plus COVID, it's basically like everybody is always calling and coming by, like, are you still open? Are you still here? Because like Terry said, we are an outlet, but we can't do the things that we usually do. Usually I run like mass tournaments and events. I can't do those things, so I'm constantly having to remind people, hey, if you can't come by, check out our website, challengesgames.com, shop us. If you want us to be here, I need you guys to actually order some stuff, either come pick it up or I'll ship it to you. But it's basically having to have that complete shift of business. But, like I said, I've been doing this, since 94. I don't know if I could go to work for somebody else or what, my other option would be. So I'm going to try to do whatever I can. I'm going to try to morph as much as I can to try to make sure that I'm here, for me and for the community, because I've, been in this so long and stuff. I've got guys who started off for like when they were little kids. Now they're like 30-year-old men with kids, and they're always coming to me about, hey man, you helped me stay off the streets. I wouldn't, have this job or this family or be where I am and stuff if you weren't there. It gives me like a really good feeling, inside. And so I want to make sure and stuff that, I keep trying to do what I can, for the community at large, because like I said, they've let me know that I'm important. And so I have no problem letting them know it's like, okay, guys, I'm important. I need you guys, to support.
Yeah, and I was going to say with, I think the one thing that is, I guess not unique, would be true of any, I guess, entertainment or luxury item, but we are a luxury item, like comics and games, that is entertainment. And we are getting to the financial crisis. I mean, we've kind of been slowly creeping towards it, but you're really starting to feel it now, especially as we're talking about, potential fall surges and things like that. But one thing that we are experiencing and also having to adapt to is like our customers don't have the money, right? So it's not that they've forgotten about us or don't want to support, but they are getting to a place where they have to start making hard decisions because they also need to ride it out. So you are getting into that place where folks might just have to cancel their subscription boxes because they just cannot, and what that looks like. So I will say that's, that's a challenge that, I'm concerned about, and especially with, it seems like another stimulus package is potentially going to be held hostage by this election. And Lord knows what that's going to look like. But, in the meanwhile, while, Congress is playing games and this president is playing games, it's like people are hurting. And so it's just getting to the point where, it's going to start, it is going to just start feeling tighter because everybody's feeling tight, and it's just, we are in a very scary and again, unprecedented place, at least in my lifetime. Like I'm very aware there have been recessions and depressions before and things like that. But this is, I don't think any of us have ever lived through anything like this. And just, again, trying to pivot a whole business to stay afloat. And you really are making hard decisions about, ordering, about hours, about balancing safety with the need to make money and things like that. So this is a really, really, I guess, trying time to be a business owner, period, but especially a business like ours, which I think is vulnerable in a lot of ways because of what's happening, from the social aspect, from the financial aspect, and just our businesses are really kind of stunted in what we're able to do because of the nature of our businesses of being like community spaces and things like that. So
DC Comics isn't helping.
no, they are not.
Not our friend in this regard.
No, they're not.
And it was really frustrating because of all the changes, having to make that change and then having to make another change. It's a lot. You're asking a lot.
Were you with UCS?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I think most of us on the East Coast were using UCS.
Right.
Well, I think that was the recommendation.
Okay.
Depending on where you were,
right,
geographically, who you use, or
Yeah.
And LaShawn, I wanted to ask you if you had any follow-up on that before we kind of get to our final point of question.
Hopefully you don't carry DC Comics.
But I will give DC a shout out. They did hire a lot of independent people to come through. But to y'all point, I get where you're coming from. Go ahead. Go ahead, LaShawn.
It was very interesting for me to let them answer that question first, to kind of get or somebody calling me, let me hang up. To get okay, am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
You're back.
It was very interesting for me to just kind of sit back and listen because, like I said, I opened October 31st and, kind of get an understanding of what's going on in with you guys' stores. And one of the things that I told myself with opening a store in the pandemic, I said, well, location was important. I end up choosing a location that it's not a major shopping center. It's right off the interstate and it's a nice area. But I didn't want to get that mind frame of, I didn't want to have to depend on the movie theater, or I didn't want to have to depend on some other big chain store in the shopping center for customers. Because honestly, you guys been in business for years. So wherever I was going to be, I knew I was going to have to bring my own following, period. And I was ready for that. And as far as the whole COVID thing and dealing with that, it's scary. I'm not gonna lie and say that I'm not nervous, because I'm nervous. I'm scared. I'm terrified. Sometimes I get a little emotional and I start crying and be like, girl, what are you doing? Why did you do this? But failure for me is just not an option. If I have to get my ass on that strip and walk up and down dressed as Storm or Niobe or whatever I need to do to get my fellow nerds and geeks and everybody involved in my store, then that's just what I got to do. Which was important for me to make sure I had the beverage area, I had my gaming area, I had my lounge, because the lounge plays a whole nother thing. I want to do weekly events that I'm sure you guys are already doing, karaoke nights, movie nights, anime night. One event I want to do is where we get in the store and shit, I push all my furniture to the side and we put some skates on and we just skate our ass around the store, just dancing and laughing and having a good old time and, all of that. So whatever I need to do, I'm prepared to do it. So it was so inspiring hearing you guys say what you guys are going through and what you are doing, to make it work.
Absolutely. And again, that's it's compelling on all fronts. And I think in some, and as a customer and as independent, I know obviously, it's paramount that we see you guys survive and thrive and see you all make it through here. And I guess in that sense of us all trying to figure out in these unprecedented times, like what's next, particularly for the ways that we look at you all, not only as kind of our avenues of creativity, but also kind of, our fixtures in the neighborhood, right? For like the comic book store is that creative barbershop, right? We know what goes on and what happens, not only in talking about just comics, but, just in our social lives and our, this is part of our culture. And so obviously, we're thankful and want to see this and see you all survive and obviously be the best that you can be. Kind of in closing, we want to ask, just give you guys a minute or two to kind of reflect of what's next for your stores. Obviously, we know and we'll put all we can here from Subsume to support y'all's endeavors. And again, to make sure that we put the links of where everybody can digitally find y'all and support through all of this. But I just kind of want to ask, what do you look at as what's next for you and your store? It can be creatively, obviously, for an event, as Sean had talked of. But what do you see going forward? At the end of 2020, end of 2021, as the things that are on your mind as a Black comic store owner. And we'll start. Anyone may start, please.
I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, for us, I think, of course, during this time, we are, shifting focus to a more online model. We've had a website for a while, but again, the appeal of Amalgam, I think, is coming in the door. So we had, select items on our website, and now we're moving where we really are working to get our entire inventory up to make it easy for people to shop without having to come in. Right now, we're also looking into outdoor vending events, especially as we move into the holiday season. If there are any like holiday markets coming up that are outdoors, and we'll just have to suffer through the cold, but just again, trying to get us through to the next phase to make it through, the remainder of 2020. Again, for me, I think, the election will, I think, or at least for me, I think I might have a better idea of what things will look like after the election, and we kind of hear what the plan is moving forward to support both individuals and businesses as we, are still going through COVID. We're still going to be going through COVID in 2021. But, prayerfully, we get through all that. I think, the first thing when we start to return to some semblance of normality, it'll be about just starting to rebuild safely, but rebuilding that community, rebuilding that like personal attachment for folks to the space, because at that point we've basically, might have gone, a year and a half, 2 years since people have even been able to walk through, and sit and play a game and have a cup of coffee. So I think it'll be about coming in really strong with, again, that community focus once it is safe to do so, reestablishing meetups, reestablishing, any regular events that you had, again, to just kind of get people back into the groove of being in the space, right? And being a part of the community. I think that's going to be, the challenge, again, kind of reinstilling the community after we've gone so long without it, in that, tangible sense where you're face to face with somebody else as opposed to online, email, Zoom, you know what I mean? And I think we're all going to have to, that's going to be some readjustment, for all of us. But I think that's going to be an important part for the comic book store to really bounce back, is being able to, again, reestablish those connections and rebuild the community that, we have slowly had to step away from during this crisis.
Well, I guess for me, as far with the future of the store is concerned, it basically is dependent on what goes on with a vaccine. As soon as there's a vaccine and it's safe for people, to get together, we'll start back with our, tournaments. A lot of the different companies that do organized play have put a moratorium and stuff on tournaments. We're not allowed to do any official tournaments. And, I think it would be irresponsible, to try to do anything on a large scale. Right now, we make it so that everyone who comes into the store has to wear a mask. We check everybody's temperature when they're playing in groups, to make sure, and we try to keep as socially distant as possible. But as far as for right now, the survival, my whole thing is just to push that challengesgames.com and remind everybody and stuff that, all of our, Gundam models are on the website, all of our miniatures, you got time to paint miniatures. We got your miniatures, you got your D&D miniatures, we got your Warhammer miniatures, we got all the board games, everything is on the website, and like I said, if you want to support us, check out our websites. Don't go to Amazon. Yeah, you might save a few dollars on Amazon, but that's not going to help us stay in business. And I'd like to remind people, Amazon lost money for years. They had millions of dollars that they could afford to lose. We ain't have it like that. I started my business, I didn't even take out a loan. I started the business with the money that was in my pocket, and I've grown on it to where it is now. So if you want to support us, go to our websites. It might cost you a couple of extra dollars for the item, but hey, if you want us to survive, we need you out there to support us.
Well said, well said. LaShawn or Terry, let me get y'all's point.
Terry, did you want to go first, or?
I can go first. So one of the things that I've done since COVID started was our mail orders went up, right? So a lot of what we're doing now is we can have a couple people come into the store at a time. So we have a lobby area. Folks wait out in the lobby if there's too many people, if there's already a couple people in the store, because we're a small shop. So, and one of the reasons we are a small shop is this isn't the first time we've had economic issues or kind of national downturns. I opened in 2008, and in 2009, the economy tanked. So I had to adjust really fast then. And then in 2015, for whatever reason around here, it seemed like everybody was going through something, and it hit our business hard. And I didn't think I was going to make it through 2015. But honestly, I'm going to say, and I've never said this before to Ariel, is that I saw when Ariel was opening her shop, the creativity that went into it, the vision to kind of pull that off, I was inspired by it. And instead of closing my shop, I just moved it to a college campus, thinking to adjust, kind of pivoting on how to kind of make that slight left turn instead of just kind of folding it all up, right? So Ariel actually inspired me to think of things a little different way, go outside the box with how I was doing what I was doing, and it kind of paid off even 5 years later, So thanks, Ariel, for that. And now we're doing more mail order. A lot of our subscribers aren't physically necessarily coming to the store. I've picked up a lot of customers who don't even live in Illinois. Right? Every week I'm shipping to a couple people in Florida, Georgia, Maryland. I've got customers now all over the country that I'm shipping to only because they're basically following us on social media. They're finding me in various articles or interviews that I do. And recently I started up I had a YouTube channel years ago, made a couple videos. I didn't quite like the format and I wasn't really into it, but about a month ago or so, I did an article for The Root, and that video the response was so positive for it that I decided, what the hell, why don't I just make my own content? So now a couple of times a week, I have my YouTube channel that I post videos to, and the channel's called, the series is called Doomsday Clerk, because this is COVID, right? So I'm the Doomsday Clerk, and I just do a video. They're 5 minutes long, and they're about some topic that's going on in the industry. This week it was the news about DC Comics, right? So I've only done a few of these, but my goal is to basically like do a couple a week or so, and then just do that, because one of the reasons people actually like coming to our shop is talking to me and sort of my industry knowledge and history of comics and all that. So that's what I'm giving through my YouTube channel, right? So it's relatively new, but like I can keep that up, you know what I mean? While I can't necessarily do the meetups we were doing, we used to do karaoke nights. We've done all kinds of things. Can't do any of that. I can at least promote comics, promote graphic novels, promote the culture. I can do that. And I can do that through like my internet presence, and I'm perfectly fine with that.
Awesome. Thank you. And LaShawn.
So a couple of the things that I got planned between now and next year, besides having a successful grand opening on the 31st, a lot of people, if they want to support the store and they're not in Alabama, then everything that's on my store is on the website. We ship out the very next day. So I definitely made sure that the online presence was just as strong as the physical presence. Another thing, I'm launching my Beautiful Soldiers Kickstarter, because the book is wrapping up after 8 years. I'm very proud of myself that my book is at the last stages. So I launched my Kickstarter in November. So if you can't come to the store, or you don't really see anything online that you like, please support my Kickstarter. Pledge your life, okay, to my Kickstarter. And some other goals for the store is my smoothie bar. That is a definite goal for 2021, is to get that counter built in the store and make it look as fabulous as I know it's going to look. And I have some other big goals. Another goal, once we finally get to a point where the COVID thing is going to calm down and we can live a little bit more, I want to start my own Comic-Con, centering around women, men as well, but definitely highlighting women in comics, female creators. So that's another big goal that I want, is to create a female-led comic convention.
Fantastic. And to that, want to give out one last round of virtual applause to all of y'all. Likewise, just to give a quick blurb of where you are. And just before we intersect with that, Tony, I think you had a Kickstarter point that you were going to say something about. I don't know if you got a chance to say that yet.
Oh, no, well, I was going to mention to everybody and stuff, the checkout, during your virtual summit is that we'll have a table at the virtual summit, and then I've got a Kickstarter that's going to be coming out. And so you can check out the little table we have there, and we'll have a sign up where you guys can sign up, and we can put you on our email list so we can keep you up to date on what we're doing with the Kickstarter that we're doing for the Fox Chronicles. And that's going to be a series that's going to be coming out from our new vehicle that we have coming up.
Awesome. And to that, of course, during the Zoom Summit, we'll absolutely have everybody's links available in our virtual space where you can find out more about our creators. Likewise, just in some, for the first part of this, of being able to get your indie comic books in the store, I think I'd be remiss if we did not take a chance to mention our partner in this, of Black Indie Comics Distro, who is giving independent comics an opportunity through a ship to store experience of finely curated independent comics, such as Tuskegee Years, such as and you just said it, David's what is it? I'm blurbing
Harriet
up.
Tubman Demon Slayer.
Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer. A lot of great work from 133 Art, from MV Media, a lot of other great independents that again gives you that opportunity. So the information about that also be there. And again, just want to give one last round to thank everybody. So start with Ariel, and we'll go from Ariel to LaShawn to Tony, and then Terry. Just tell us really quick your store and where we can find you online.
Oh, yep. So that's Amalgam Comics and Coffee House. You can find us at Amalgam Philly. amalgamphilly.com. That's amalgamphilly.com. Again, where we are, we've gotten a lot of inventory on there, and we're still working to make that complete shift. You can also always reach out to us at comics.amalgamphilly@gmail.com. Again, that's comics.amalgamphilly@gmail.com. If you have any specific questions or you're just looking for something, we can also help you over the internet. And then for folks who are in the Philly area, we have some limited shop hours of Tuesday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Call in and pick up only. So again, you can call us in and say, hey, I want to get this issue or that issue, and we charge it over the phone, and we'll present it to you at the front door without you having to come in and, everything is distance. We put it on the table, take a step back so folks can grab things without coming in contact. So just trying to do things safely, but staying in operation. So, every purchase is hugely impactful, and we appreciate all the folks who've been supporting us thus far. And, I hope that we all, come out of this on the other side together.
Absolutely. LaShawn.
So you can find my store. It's www.comics-and-geeks.com. You can contact us from the website, or if you just want the personal email. It's a funny story. I messed this up completely. It's entirely too long. And every time I sign onto my UCS account, I just get so pissed off. But the email is comics-and-geeks.com. That's just entirely too long. I got to figure out how to change that. And then also you can follow me on Instagram, beautiful_soldiers. And I have a Comics and Geeks, a Beverage Lounge fan page on Facebook, and a Beautiful Soldier fan page on Facebook. Or I encourage a lot of people just to send me a friend request on Facebook as well at LaShawn Colvin. If you're any creators and you just, need some guidance on, you looking into trying to get your book started and you just need to know who to talk to or some little guidance on where to begin, I always encourage creators to reach out to me, because one thing you need, writers and creators, one of the first things you need is to get you an editor. You need you a good editor. Please don't try to create no comic book without no editor. That's one of my biggest rules.
Well, great advice. And again, we'll see you at the opening. How about you, Tony?
Like I said, you can contact us at challengesgames.com. Of course, we've got the Challenges Facebook group. We've got an Instagram. We've got Discord. So there's, you can hit us up on email at info@challengesgames.com. Like I said, we've got numerous ways to get in touch with us, and we respond. So if you hit us up, messaging us on any of those formats, we'll respond to it. We're here to answer your questions. Like I said, as far as getting product to you, we ship. I got my printers and my scales over here, ready to go. We do local deliveries. We'll get the product to you. So all you got to do is just hit us up.
If I can also say real fast before we go, I just wanted to just kind of thank everybody again. This was very informative for me as a new store, and it's still so many questions that I have, and still so many, just a lot of questions I have for each and every one of you. I know you guys are busy, so I won't bother you with them, but whenever you guys find the time, I would love to kind of pick your brain even more than what we've done today.
Well, I think all of us should stay, in touch anyway and pick each other's brains. I mean, I've got questions for you guys. I've been at this, the longest, but I no way think I know everything, and I have questions and stuff. It's I've thought about the whole thing. It's well, hey, what if I start doing smoothies? What if I start doing coffee? I got to hit Terry up and stuff. It's okay, So you're sending people their comics. Are they paying for the postage, or are we absorbing the cost of the postage? And then are you giving a deep discount on the postage? See, so there's a lot of stuff we can all learn from each other, you know, so we should be staying in touch.
All right, and then I want to let Tony jump in, and then I definitely want to keep that conversation going. So Tony, excuse me, Terry, if we just want to give you one moment to let's shout you out as far as where we can find you and support you.
Okay, so the website for our shop is thirdcoastcomics.com. My email address is terry@thirdcoastcomics.com, all spelled out. My Twitters are Third Coast Comics with a 3RD, and my personal Twitter is Doc Midnight, at Doc Midnight. So you can find us on Facebook, you can find us on Instagram, we're all over the place. Our different social media platforms are used for different things. Usually on Instagram, I'm just at home posting like images of like old Silver Age comics I found in my collection, or I'm in the shop posting comic book covers of things that, you know, recently came in that you might want to peep, something like that. Like on our Twitters, we're just having conversations with people. The Facebook is like, we're posting YouTube links there, industry news there, things going on in the shop there as well. So we're out there. It's easy to find us for the most part. If you were looking for a product from us, if you wanted a book or a graphic novel or something, you're wondering if we had it. Right now, our site was mostly set up before for like letting you know what our events were. It wasn't really an e-commerce site. So now we're just saying, contact me directly. And what I've been doing is basically a personal shopper service, right? I'm doing what's called like a chef's choice. You tell me what your budget is and what kind of books you're looking for, and then I'll get you books to fit your taste. Right? And that's how a lot of people have been doing this with us. And that's totally helped out, right? It's not even so much as clicking on, I like Batman, The Flash, Wonder Woman, you know, Black Panther. It's not so much that for us. It's about, you know, I'm into graphic novels, but I don't really know where to start or what's next. I've read X and I like this kind of stuff, or I've read nothing, but I like these kind of TV shows, movies, whatever. You hit me up with that and just tell me what your budget is, and then I fill out whatever you need, ship it to you. The customers don't even mind paying the shipping. It's perfectly fine for them. That way, at least, I don't have to like worry about like what little hit I might be taking during the COVID and having to kind of like calculate that. It's almost like for the price of an extra monthly comic book, your books are shipped to you, right? So yeah, that works out.
Awesome. Now, with that, you know, I'm very happy, and you know, this has turned into I'm gonna have to put this as a full subsume session master class. You know, of a lot of great points, and glad. And this is exactly what, you know, I was hoping to be the kind of the outcome. Obviously, with Subsume, we want to make a connection in the community amongst the Black creative experience. And a lot of times, and Tony brought this up, you know, we look at the retailers and as okay, we've already had this conversation. Now let's show up at your doorstep. So I really wanted to make sure there was an opportunity for store owners and entrepreneurship, because I feel like that's part of the creative process as well. Like, you all have to envision what your store is, and you know, you have to build something that nobody's seen before, particularly as Black store owners, and particularly in the things that we're dealing with. So we want to make sure to give you all, you know, your roses while y'all here, and make sure that we figure out the best way as Subsume and as a platform and just as a community, that we're making sure that you guys come through this, you know, in the best way possible, so that we can continue to come to your stores and support and imbibe in this culture that we're all part of. And so with that, I'll open it up. Is there any final points? You know, you guys, again, thank you all so very much. This is, you know, has been by far you know, exceeded all my expectations. And again, they were already high. So again, thank you all so much.
Yeah, just thank you. Thanks for everybody who's on the call. And yeah, this has been fun. Thank you so much for inviting us to have these conversations.
Absolutely. So with that,
well, I want to ask Terry when we get to see, you know, his work. When is his book coming out?
It might take a while. All right, so I'm a single person operation, right? So even for things that I'm writing and drawing or whatever, like, I only have so much time. So a lot of my brain power and creative power is spent. I paint, right? So like I do a lot of like art that isn't necessarily sequential art currently, right? Mm-hmm. So I'll be writing a script for a comic, you know, and a friend of mine he's good illustrating, but then during downtime I'll be shifting my focus from one creative endeavor. I got a lot of creative outlets. So, and I only have so much actual time. So it's kind of like I'm in the shop all day, every day practically. And when I'm at home, I got to pick a lane for what creative thing I'm doing. And we're going into the winter, and the winter is usually when I'm painting, right? I'm doing, you know, I have my paintings are up on the website Imprint, like INPRNT. I have work there, so people can buy prints of mine. They're not comic book related; they're just fine art stuff. But like that's what I do because I just if I didn't have to sleep, I think you'd have my book by now, right?
Yeah. I keep hearing about that. Yeah, I keep hearing about that thing called sleep. I'm gonna find some one.
Yeah, I learned. I learned it's a new hobby, you know, because this is like if I don't like take care of my own like kind of mental health during all of it, just being a small business owner, right? Then the whole thing falls apart. So I don't even stress some of the. I used to really get upset about what I hadn't done, and now I try not to. I just do what I can when I get there, and at some point it'll happen.
That's it. All right, everybody. Again, I thank y'all so very much for being part of us here with the Subsume Summit. Again, thanks to all of y'all. And again, we'll figure out our best ways to keep y'all supported. I also want to thank Black Indie Comics Distro for supporting this portion of the show. And we'll turn it right back to our Subsume Summit. So thank y'all so very much.
Thank you.